Hello and welcome to another episode of Pictures Without Pictures. Today's episode, according to the graphic I've got on the screen, is called Jurassic Park because the resolution doesn't quite line up and the final bit of a K is cut off, but this is...
That's interesting. Right.
I've only just noticed that as I switched to it. This will be the first episode of Pictures Without Pictures with the audio balance correct, because I said that last week, and then I realised that I had my PC audio all the way up and you were actually quite loud. That was my bad. My apologies.
Very loud.
I swear to fucking God, it should be good this week. But either way, it was still fine and listenable. But yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
This is another episode. How are you doing today, Reese? It's not like I've been talking to you for 10 minutes. I always feel like I'm
talking to someone. Yeah.
I always feel like I'm lying when I do that. I'm like, how are you doing, Reese?
You know very well how I am, Christian. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, well rested for once.
Oh my God.
Yeah, feeling good. How are you, friend?
I'm in awe of your power. Well rested.
Well, I say well rested. I'm better rested is probably the better way to put it.
Well, that's good. We are here today. Oh, I'm good as well. I should have. Yeah, we just assume I'm good. If I'm doing a show, I guess. It might be a lie sometimes, but that's fine. We are doing Jurassic Park. Do you remember the first time you saw Jurassic Park, Reese?
Kind of, yeah.
Or Jurassic Park.
It's weird though, because a lot of the stuff I remember is a lot of stuff to do with food from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is really weird. I remember specifically the scene when the kids are eating the food and the thing. And I also remember, like... I know it's not, like... It's like shaving cream, isn't it? That like can he has, but he like puts it on a pie, and I remember that specifically because I remember as a kid being like, I know it's not cream, but it still looks really good.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I also watched this as a kid, and I also remembered very specific small parts of it, but I didn't remember the food. I remembered some of like the. I don't know what you'd like props, but like I don't know what you call them in terms of story. I remembered like the look of the cars and the giant crates and the big fences. Like that was all of the stuff.
Oh yeah,
that
I remember
stuck out
that
to me.
very well.
But that was like that was the stuff that really like stood out to me as I was watching it. Like, oh fuck yeah, those when the Jurassic Park cars like rolled up, the electric cars. I was like, fuck yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
And they really stood out to me. Whereas none of the plot, or well, okay, some of the plot did actually. A lot more than I thought I would remember came back to me as I was watching it. It's weird how memory works in that it's still buried deep in there somewhere. For instance, I said before the guy who was on the toilet. I thought he was in a portaloo, but no, he was in a proper like bathroom. But like, I remembered as it was happening. I was like, oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure this is the part where So yeah, there was a lot as I was going through it where it was familiar to me and. Yeah, this movie's fucking scary though.
It is scary,
It's
and
horrifying.
I think that comes down to how good everything looks.
Yeah,
this movie looks good. Like it's older than we are.
Yeah, it's 2 years older than we are.
It's 2 years older than we are, but it looks so good. I mean, a lot of it comes down to obviously the expert use of practical effects combined with obviously more computer stuff. But it just looks good, and it just looks solid, and it looks believable, which you want, obviously, in a movie like this, where it's very much like, it's a very unbelievable scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it just looks fantastic. I mean, it could just be down to, obviously, it was filmed in the 90s, so obviously lower quality cameras, so maybe that compensated a little bit for it, but... Honestly, like, just as it is, it looks fantastic. So
I know it used practical effects a lot, which it's been praised for. I didn't expect the CGI to age mostly well. Like, there were a couple of things which were a bit iffy, but for the most part, it's passable. It does the job. It looks good. Like
that's what I mean. Like, it combined it. It didn't use CG unnecessarily because the more you use CG, the more it has the potential to stand out.
Yeah.
Using it expertly in scenes where they're far away or when the certain chase things are happening, like I'd say there was a couple points where it was like, yeah, it's like a green screen, like you could tell.
Yeah.
But like it was very like minimal. Like it was typically a case of if it was
a giant
if it was
shot.
a dinosaur stood in an environment.
Yeah.
Like at some point it was like, and like they'd move like a little too much, and it'd be like, okay, that looks a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just everything was so practical, so the practical stuff looked so real, and then all they had to do was replicate that to a good enough degree in certain situations where stuff was moving a lot, and it just looked good. So
one thing I will say is I wasn't expecting there were actually there weren't many, but there were a couple of animatronic shots which I thought looked not great. Like weirdly, the practical effects hadn't aged quite well some places.
Yeah,
like in some you could almost see it being moved by a hand.
It was obviously servos.
Yeah.
Going, like
I think at one point a Velociraptor pokes its head around a door, and I could almost like see like the hand on the other end of the stick like moving.
Yeah,
I was like,
that
didn't look real.
You're on about the part where the raptors are chasing them through the kitchen, right?
Absolutely,
and the door,
yeah.
And he's like bashing on the door.
Yeah.
It did look really rigid, that movement, but I think it's a case of it's too much going on for that one thing in that one part. It was too much focus on that one specific thing, so then it very obviously becomes like, oh, this is
Well, that was one example. Another example I had was closer to the start of a movie when they were when they were going on a tour for the first time. There was at one point where you saw one of the dinosaurs through the bushes, and it did a weird movement where I was like, a human moved that, but it kind of took me out of it a bit. But other than that, also, I'm not saying this didn't look realistic, but it stood out to me as weird. When everything goes to shit, we'll do like the play-by-play properly soon, but when everything goes to shit, at one point you see like, is it the T-Rex's claw like hits the fence and then slowly like goes down like, it was like a fucking alien monster or something, or like a predator, or I don't know what to liken it to, but it looked it didn't quite look right. I was like,
oh, I know what you're on about. You're on about the part where he's eating the goat, right?
Yeah.
And it has like his little hand over it, and it kind of just slides off.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, that one looked a bit weird. But I guess if we're gonna go through the movie, I was gonna say I like how, I mean, it's very basic foreshadowing, but the movie opens on something going wrong when they're trying to handle a dinosaur. It like defines the franchise immediately. It's like they got a Velociraptor, they try and move it. They're like, look at all these precautions we got. Oopsie, man, get eaten.
I mean, you say precautions. The fact that one dude can lift up the gate. Not very precautious, is it?
No, I was thinking that as well as he did that. I was like, I don't know. It's almost like they've got the stuff that looks like really big and like safe and stuff, but the actual carrying out of it isn't. Oh, what was it? Jeff Goldblum's character says at one point. He says something about like they're working off of the backs of greater minds, and they. I forget what metaphor his character used, but. It kind of circles back to that a little bit, and also I think it was very well done of like rudimentary, but who knows if it was rudimentary back in '93 stuff of like we don't see the Velociraptor, we just see like flashes and hints of it, and like because they're saving that for later in the movie. And,
it's a good build up, like what they do for setting up Velociraptors is very well done.
Yeah,
because it's constantly like, oh, they're still in the cage, oh thank God, and it's like, oh, and it's like, oh, he deactivated all the things apart from the raptor one. That one's still active. Oh, thank God! Like it really builds up that tension very well.
Yeah, it does it very well. I would not want to meet a Velociraptor. I don't think I would be able to face one in single combat.
I mean, obviously you know it's like a twisted version of it, right? It's not actually a Velociraptor.
Yeah, Reese, I know.
It's,
I also know that there's not really an
island
island called Jurassic Park, and they didn't really clone dinosaurs out of frog DNA.
But I think that's one of the things that people have issues with, and I'm like, it's fine though, because they did it specifically for the spectacle, which is fine, and it makes an interesting and compelling story.
I mean, this movie was based on a book, right? I've never read it, but I didn't know that for the longest time. I was like, wait, a guy wrote a book about an island of dinosaurs? Like, how weird. So, I think it's because the film is obviously a lot more famous than the book at this point. But
the movie did a lot, like not just for this story itself, but in terms of a lot of stuff we see like nowadays. I feel.
Yeah, like in terms of like spectacle and probably like CGI tech and like.
For sure, yeah. It probably pioneered a lot of stuff like that, like the mix of practical. I mean, I'd say Star Wars probably did a lot more of that earlier on. But obviously, they definitely pioneered like a new age of it almost, where it was like, I mean, you look back at the 90s and watch films, and probably nothing looks as good as this, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like in terms of like the story dynamic and everything, though, what happens in this film wouldn't have been cliche at the time, but is very much cliche now, I feel.
Yeah.
Was like, because of the success of a film like this, it's used so often, the idea of guys have power to do thing. Smart person says that's a bad idea. Guys do thing anyway. Guys regret doing thing. Scientists say I told you so, but are also wrapped up in it. So on and so forth.
Yeah. It's like with any of these really famous movies, when I go back and watch them, as I'm watching them, I immediately see like, oh wait, I can see like how this show I like replicated this in a way, or how this episode was almost an homage to this, and like how I've seen this in later pieces of like film and television, all this kind of stuff. It's definitely one of those. I don't know if there's a word for it, but like I guess progenitors of the way things are done later on. Although then again, I don't have much knowledge in terms of the world of film anyway, so for all I know this could be copying something that happened earlier. But given that it's Spielberg, I think I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's probably not.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, seeing Steven Spielberg's name on this as well is very much a case of, oh okay, that's, like he's definitely a man who was like, I want to do some crazy cool shit and it's going to work. And they're like, alright, let's do it.
I'll be honest, somewhere in the back of my mind I knew Spielberg directed this, but I wasn't thinking about that as I watched the movie. And when it comes up at the end, I just went, oh right, yeah, that's why this was so well done.
It's a good movie, this film. Like, I don't think we've established this yet. It's a good movie.
It's a fucking fantastic movie.
Like, it's really good.
I thought it started a little slow, but that might just be by modern standards.
I think so.
I was a little bit bored until they landed on the island, but I do have some notes from that time. But yeah.
It was a lot of setup, I think. And I think it was because it was very much a new thing. Like, obviously there's plenty of action films back in the 90s and obviously before that, but this was definitely a new thing. Like, it was, big monsters and stuff being set up as this thing and being like, oh, these guys know what they're doing, they're paleontologists, haha.
I will say, when John Hammond, I've actually got, okay, I'm just immediately going to call myself out. I've got a list of the characters and their names and the actors so I don't fuck it up, because I'm tired of going, oh, that guy, one of the main characters in the film, what was his name again? I don't want to be doing that all the time, so yeah. John Hammond, the big director dude of The Island, the millionaire. I wrote down that his entrance when he came in the helicopter, it was kind of symbolic how him kicking up dust and recovering the bones, it's kind of an allegory for the modern world covering up the wonder of the ancient world, which is a lot of what this movie is about, and I think it does a really good job of keeping that thread going throughout with some of the conversations and some of the shots. And
that's the thing, like, as much of the spectacle for this film is, the conversations and the conflict it brings up during the film is fantastically done.
Yeah. I love how every time he tries to give them like a tour version of the island, they're having none of his shit, and like they always like for instance in the movie they rip up the bars and they like walk out to go and have a look themselves, and when they're on the actual tour they like alt tab Alan, that's his name. Alan gets out of the car while it's moving because he's just like, okay, I want to see what's actually happening here.
But that's just the very nature of them as scientists as well. Like, I think it's just a case of them not understanding how scientists work, and that they don't really want to sit there and watch. They want to be involved.
Exactly.
It's kind of their deal. especially like people like archaeologists and stuff who obviously are obviously knee deep in the dirt, like on their hands and knees for this stuff,
Exactly. This movie has a lot of origins of memes in it, I've realised. Most of them I knew were from Jurassic Park, but one that I didn't is when he goes, Dodson! Hey, we got Dodson over here! See? Nobody cares!
Yeah.
I didn't realise that was from Jurassic Park, and when I saw that I went, ah! Yeah. So that's going to happen a lot during
really
this podcast.
Well for some reason. Like, that was one of the scenes that I remember really well. I think because I found the fat man funny. You fat hen, he tell joke and he giggle a lot for some reason.
Yeah, he was an interesting character, and I like that he was set up as the big villain, but it's like, no. The villains are dinosaurs. He gets fucking horribly killed. Oh my god, he dies so horribly.
The Dilophosaurus really gets him.
God. I like that you remembered the name. I did not.
Because they set it up. They set it up at the beginning of the tour.
Yeah, everything is set up. Like,
everything
this movie is so
good.
good.
Down.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so perfect. It's perfect. Like, it's such basic storytelling, but it works so well when
it's
you do it.
masterfully done. And like, sometimes it takes like an entire movie to get there. Like, they're building up the Velociraptors over and over and over, and sometimes it's the irony of he plays a fucking Alan plays a joke with the electric fence and pretends to be electrocuted, and then minutes later the kid is actually electrocuted. Like,
that's what I mean. It's a lot of like little payoffs.
Yeah,
it's little payoffs here and there that lead to the big thing at the end.
I ain't going out there.
And then once that thing comes out, you're like, oh shit, something is always happening now. Like, you're constantly worried. Like, oh shit. Like,
oh god, yeah. This movie starts and then it just fucking keeps going. It does not relent.
It's great.
Does not relent. Fucking like how Samuel L. Jackson's character's like, I am not going out there, and then he goes out there, and then he gets killed off screen. They did him dirty. Yep. They killed who killed Samuel L. Jackson off screen?
It's weird seeing him in such like a B role, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe even a C role. Like, it's so strange.
It's strange because I'm pretty sure he was a major actor before Jurassic Park, right? Like, this is 93.
Yeah, like
he's a fairly old dude.
Yeah.
He's been in old cop shit. I know that much.
Yeah. Pulp Fiction, he was in, which is obviously that's a film we should do. Pulp Fiction.
Okay, sure. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, that's a film he was in, and that one obviously he's very well known for that film. Probably one of the films that properly like kicked him off, you know.
Yeah, chat. We have
like,
officially got a list now, and it is so long. There are so many things on this list. Oh, it's so long.
We've been for a couple of years. It's
our Discord. It's our Discord. It's one of our Discord server chats, and we just put film names in there. We had a pretty good time coming up with some, and we'll be. Which reminds me, Reese, you need to pick a movie at the end of this podcast.
I do. I will pick a movie at the end of this podcast.
Okay.
I'll do it live.
Fucking thing sucks.
But yeah. Where were we?
We were at
Samuel Jackson dying off screen.
Yeah, although that's a bit midway through the movie. I just kind of jumped forward because it's relevant in the conversation.
It's fine. We can draw it back. We can go methodical through it. It's all good.
It's our podcast. We can do whatever the hell we like.
So,
we can start talking about video games. Nobody can stop us.
Exactly. No one can stop us. But we won't because that's dumb. But yeah, I think that probably leads off into like the actual like traveling to because they jump in the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously that's from obviously what you said about obviously him entering in the helicopter, and obviously they fly off in the helicopter to the thing. It's very strange. Like, obviously they set up the other characters there very well, where it's just like, oh, he's the very like outgoing, like obviously Jeff Goldblum's character. He's very like he's like friendly with everyone immediately.
Yeah.
And then obviously Alan's a bit more subdued, and then you've got the lawyer type, and it sets up a very like all the character dynamics immediately, which is very good.
I like how Alan struggles with his seatbelt. It's like it's a small thing, but also it's like this guy does not get on well with technology of any kind.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, sorry, my cat's just doing a thing. I have to vamp for me, Reese. Vamp for me.
Okay. Yeah, and then obviously like straight after that, it's like you get the beautiful Jurassic Park theme. Obviously rolls in. Or is it that one?
That's the one when they're on the island. I realised there's a slightly different one when they're flying towards it.
There's two of them. There's more of like a more of a uplifting one, which is more like, oh, look at this, it's so cool, wow.
I wrote down, it all feels very self-congratulatory, I must say.
Yeah, it is. It's very
but I think
like, that we did a thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But at the time, I took that to mean the movie, but I think that's actually more representative of John Hammond's character and his dream and his vision. And
I mean, because one of the things he says to the lawyer, like, he's like, oh, because he's going on about how, oh, if they're not happy, then I'm not happy, and I have to shut you down, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, well, in that same time, you'll be apologizing to me, won't you? Like, he's very sure that this is all going to work. And, and you can see as soon as it starts going wrong, he's like, fuck.
Yeah. It also says a lot about his character about when it's going wrong. it takes until the very end of a movie for him to finally admit, but no, I shouldn't.
Now I'm done.
I'm done. But like midway through the movie, people have died, and he's just like, "This is terrible." But if I do it this way next time, like he's going on about next time, and I'm like, "Oh, jeez, dude."
And she's just like, no, that's not the point.
Your children are in trouble right now, and you're thinking about Jurassic Park 2. Let Steven Spielberg think about Jurassic. Did he do Jurassic Park 2?
I don't know.
I don't know. I actually think the only other thing I know about Jurassic Park outside of this movie is that shot I told you about the dinosaur next to the child's room, with the eye going in. So all I know is there must be a Jurassic Park, whether that's 2 or 3. There is another Jurassic Park which deals with dinosaurs in like a civilized environment.
Jurassic Park 2 is Jurassic Park Lost World, I think, and then Jurassic Park 3 is Jurassic Park 3 is the one where they make another park, and then Alan's like, "Why would you do this again?"
Yeah, I kind of want to see those movies now. But yeah,
we will.
Yeah, we'll do them at some point. I enjoyed the animation in the cloning explanation video of. It was very 90s. It was very of its time, but it was very cheesy, and like some of the action animation stuff on that was kind of cool. Like the 3D like Brachiosaurus like walking around. I was like, that's kind of cool. I keep wanting to call it a Brontosaurus, but it's not. It's a Brachiosaurus.
It's the Brachiosaurus, yeah.
Not a Brachiosaurus, as I did just say. That's a dinosaur that specializes in car suspension.
Okay. Anyway, God, they fit into a couple like dinosaur jokes as well.
Do you think Saurus? Yeah.
Do you think
My dad stole some of those jokes. I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. And when I confronted him about it, he was like, "Oh, did I? I don't think I did." I was like, "Yes, you did. Don't give me that."
Brilliant.
Did you notice how when they went and fed the Velociraptor, then it immediately cuts to them having like a civilized dinner, and it's like, oh, like don't cut between that.
Yeah.
I
think the idea of like between those cuts though is very much like obviously the idea of the Velociraptors, they're as intelligent almost as people.
Yeah.
So. Except the difference is they can kill you in a second.
Yeah, and they're much more like ferocious and horrible. Yeah. But I didn't actually catch the dishes they were eating. Were they eating beef? Because that would have been really cool. Like to have a Velociraptor. I'm
not sure. It looked weird. So I was
I couldn't quite tell, but it didn't look like beef. But I just thought like if it was beef, that would be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good segue. Right.
But definitely like the presentation of the food on the plate being very posh and well done and stuff is like. Beasts versus like humans, or what humans think of themselves, and like all that kind of stuff. Just a nice little subtle thing. And then my next note is, oh, this is a commentary on corporate ethics.
It is. It very much is.
Yeah, I got the movie.
Jeff Goldblum's character very much like digs into that immediately.
Yeah. Isn't it weird how Jeff Goldblum's like? I think he did the best from this movie. Like, did you see Sam Neill do much else? The guy who played Alan.
He's definitely done other stuff. Like,
okay.
I know he's done other stuff. I just don't know. But yeah, I think Jeff Goldblum's character is a lot more outstanding than the others, though, because of his actively like speech and stuff, and what he's saying, the way he portrays it is something that he very much believes in.
Yeah, I loved his whole chaos theory stuff.
Like, yeah, it's so good, and he flips between the serious and then the more like flirty side as well, really well. Like the back and forth is fantastic.
Yeah, he's a really good character.
So you can tell like with people he likes and people he doesn't. Like he's very like plain on his face when obviously he likes someone or he doesn't.
I might be wrong, but I have a feeling he becomes more of a center character in a later Jurassic Park movie. I might be wrong, but like it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. Where they were like, I couldn't get all of the other actors in, or it wouldn't make sense for the story or something, and they were like, everyone fucking loved Ian Malcolm, bring Ian Malcolm back. Jeff Goldblum's character. By the way, when I was watching this movie, I couldn't remember Jeff Goldblum's name, and I kept confusing his name with Orlando Bloom. This is how little I know about movies and actors. I was like, is that Orlando Bloom?
Orlando Bloom is more Legolas.
Yeah.
Pirates.
I know that now, but because I did look it up, I was like, oh no, I got the Bloom part right, but nothing else. It's not even spelled the same.
Jeff Goldblum, yeah.
Yeah, Orlando Bloom, Jeff Goldblum, they're similar.
Yeah, I got you.
What's going to happen to the goat? Oh, you sweet summer child.
Oh god. One thing I do want to pull it back though is something that's constantly brought up is the whole like if you try and cage nature will bite back basically, which is immediately set up as well. He's like, no, you can't do this. Ain't good. And the whole like where they're going on about it's like, oh, they can't breed because they're all female. It's like, no, they'll find a way.
Life finds a way.
Yes, and the way it's set up, like directly after the actual answer to that as well. In the they use obviously frog DNA to fill in the spaces, don't they? Yeah. It's immediately like the answer and then the question just after it, which is done very well. So it's just like, oh, so the answer has literally just been told to you, like the nature finds a way stuff, like because there is a way. It's already been told to you. It's just obviously it's not going to get paid off until later in the movie.
Yeah, this movie wraps itself so nicely. Like everything has like a setup and a payoff, and I don't think the only things that are really left are, I imagine, for the sequel. Like the dude's embryo gets buried in the mud. They
that's
stay on
very
it
like
minute.
Thrown in there, isn't it?
Yeah,
it feels very thrown in there, but
they stick on it for a bit, and you're like, okay, that's going to be important later. Like the I keep wanting to say Triceratops. Yeah, Triceratops, that's the one. The Triceratops, which is really ill, and they say, oh, those Brachiosauruses, they look like they have a cold and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought they were going to do a fucking Martians Attack, whatever. Not that movie, but the movie where what's it called? It's really famous.
Oh god.
They did an old version and a new version. It was originally an audio version. When it first came out, people thought it was real and that Martians were actually attacking Earth. I know all this trivia about it. War of the Worlds, thank you. I thought they were going to go War of the Worlds with it and have it so that fucking the Deus Ex Machina at the end would be that the dinosaurs would just catch a cold and die before they could kill them all. But no, that's not what they did. And I know they mentioned at one point that they leave something out that they need and they have to inject them with it or they eventually die after a certain amount of time. So that might be it. But given that the doctors don't know what's wrong with the dinosaur, I thought that would be paid off in the movie, and it wasn't. So
it's a very subtle thing that I'll probably they'll lead off into in the other movies. I think I don't actually remember the other movies. The only thing I remember from the other movies is from 3, where there's a scene where Alan's like with a group of people and it's like, oh, it's a T-Rex, it's based on movement, don't move, and then literally the 4 people that are behind you just turn and run away, and he's like, fuck's sake.
Yeah. By the way, can we talk about how the adults aren't in a huge rush to help the children? They might be frozen in shock, to be fair, but like the children, that T-Rex fucks up that car for a while before the adults get out to help. And I know that they didn't like children, but come on. I was like, do something.
Yeah, I think it was just a case of like they were just unsure what to do. It was just like.
I think it was like,
and then it was like
part fear, but part also scientist of like, holy fuck, look at how this thing goes.
That's the thing. That's how they were hooked in as well, which I think is fantastically done as well. Is there's so many parts where their logical side is taken over entirely by their more like what you call, I guess, childlike side, because it's like the fascination of it.
Yeah.
It completely overtakes any logic at a lot of points. Like him getting out the car just to see the Triceratops, he was just like, oh my god. He was obviously just hugging it and stuff.
Yeah.
And then just when they were like, when they're going about, oh, this is the Dilophosaurus here, and then they all get like, there's the contrast as well, because you got the kids in the car and you've got the 2 obviously like adults like doing the exact same thing, like pressing up against the window, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, but like also, nope, it's gone. God, I hate my brain. Never mind. So yeah, this is gonna be a complete non sequitur, but my brain did literally just a hard reset. So sorry about this. But Timmy's a little shit. Was not a fan of Timmy. Okay, to be fair, by the end of the movie, he was kind of interesting. But at the start of the movie, I was like, Timmy's a little shit. I don't like Timmy.
He was very like attached to him immediately. He was like, I read your book, and he's like constantly like talking to him about dinosaurs and stuff. And he's just like, leave me alone.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's not a lot of melodrama. Like, there's not a lot of. At one point, Laura Dern's character screams at the top of her lungs, but that's the first time she sees a T-Rex, and it's literally right on their heels. And it's not like a really high-pitched feminine scream, it's like a guttural, oh my fucking god, there's a T-Rex chasing me scream.
Yeah.
Which I thought was good. But other than that, like, the adults, even though like you can see the fear on their faces and stuff, it's acted and it's not like screamed at you, which I thought was really well done. And the kids do all the screaming because they're kids. Of course they're going to do screaming. That works for the characters. But yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say before my brain hard reset.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's a lot more like, because they're scientists as well, so they are very intelligent people. So obviously they know what they would be screaming would be very much involuntary or anything like that. But for them to be like, obviously like the kids constantly screaming and stuff would be a betrayal of their characters and as adults, I guess. So yeah,
they're very adults. I feel like I'm never going to be that much of an adult. If I saw a dinosaur chase me, I'd probably be screaming. I was sad when we got to the sorry. I was sad when we got to the ill Triceratops. I think I've just dabbed us back a bit, but when he gets out of the jeep and he goes and runs towards poor Tricey, sad face. And I think the writers of Doctor Who were also saddened at this plot in this movie, because in the episode which you're yet to get to, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, a very similar scene happens, and it's very much this case of, like I said earlier, I go, that's where they got that from. That entire episode is not theatrically an homage, but I guess just kind of like thematically, in that there's dinosaurs, there's a spaceship. You get the fucking idea. Should we talk about Dennis Nedry for a minute? The fat dude, the tech dude,
Yeah.
Never piss off a tech guy.
Yeah, exactly. Never piss off the guy marking the fucking button. Seriously.
He's overlooked and he's resentful about it. So he's decided he's going to steal an embryo, sell it, and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's basically his whole character. At no point does he stop and think about the ramifications of his actions.
He's excited by it, isn't he?
Yeah. He's quite gleeful. I'm trying to think, does he know the kids are in the park at any point? Does he know that?
Don't think so, no.
Okay.
He's more like the behind the scenes tech stuff, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not actively like participating in the cars and stuff.
So he thinks it's just scientists on the island. So that's probably why he thinks it's okay to just like let all of the security shit go down and leave and be like, good luck, fuckers. I wonder if he knew there were kids there, would he? I don't know, because if you notice in a lot of 90s movies or older movies, a lot of villains tend to be very murderous towards kids in these style of movies, if you know what I mean. So I'm not sure if he would be.
I think it's just a case of it's just collateral damage kind of thing. Like, I think it's just a case of I'm doing this and then I'm out of here.
Yeah. No. But he's also a villain who is very much set up to have a very cathartic death, where you're like, oh fuck, oh dude.
He gets ruined. Jesus Christ.
Actually, that's what I was gonna say. As I mentioned, I saw this movie when I was a kid, as did you. The only death out of the entire movie I remember was a guy getting eaten off a toilet, and that is the least gruesome death in the entire movie.
I remember the one with the Dilophosaurus in the car.
Oh, really?
With him, yeah. That's the one I remember.
It's one of those things where I kind of remember it as it's happening, but as for like actual held onto memory, I think all of the most gruesome deaths, and we'll get to the most gruesome one I think of in a minute, but all of the most gruesome deaths, I think I must have blotted out my memory and repressed them. Because...
Do you want to just keep riffing for a second? It'll just be 2 seconds.
Okay, sure. But, oh my god, there were so many horrible deaths in this movie. I don't think I should have seen this when I was 5 years old. When I finished watching this movie, I went to my dad, I was like, you should not have let me watch this as a kid. And he was like, you weren't 5. I was like, this movie came out in 93, and I barely remember it. I was 5. I was at least around that age, or 6 or 7 or 4. I was young. But I wasn't necessarily giving him actual shit for it. I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh damn, this must have terrified me when I was a kid. And when we get to one of the later deaths, I'll mention when a repressed memory kind of came back to the surface actually.
Oh God! All right.
Yeah, but we'll get to that soon. So yeah, there was around this time there was a shot of the T-Rex. This is when I think at this point in the movie, Dennis Nedry had turned the security off, and we were seeing the ramifications of that. The storm was hitting the island, and yeah. Also, I should say, oh good, I just sorry, I just got an email telling me I gave money to pay to Spotify. Yeah, that makes sense. That completely threw me off of my thought process. No, I was gonna say another thing I remembered about this movie is how much of it was in the dark, the rain, and the mud. And as a kid,
helps the CG.
Yes, it does. I realised that too. But as a kid, that bothered me. I hated movies like seeing characters get muddy in movies and stuff. I was always just like, ugh, gross.
Oh yeah, they do get muddy.
Oh, they get so muddy and gross. And, yeah, and I legitimately it was. I like to think I've grown out of this a bit now, but it was legitimately a thing that would impact my enjoyment of a movie if too much of it was set in a miserable setting that I wouldn't want to be in, like a cold, rainy, stormy night. It would make me like the movie less.
Yeah. Sure.
But that might just be a regular thing for kids, I guess. But yeah, there was a shot of this T-Rex, and I said, Mrs. T-Rex looks dated, but not as badly as if she was CGI, because she was a practical effect in the shot I'm talking about. I think I mentioned it earlier with the goat. But then, 1 or 2 notes later, I take it back. CGI T-Rex aged oddly well.
Yeah.
So that's when I was noticing.
Very good, yeah.
Oh no, he's in the toilet. I know what happens next. When the lawyer ran into the toilet, I was just like, oh, here we go. It's about to hit the fan. That lawyer character as well, he was just in it for himself, wasn't he? He was ready to leave.
Yeah.
He was ready to get the heck out of it. Did we ever see that? Because I thought the lawyer character was the one who met up with Dennis at the start of the movie.
No,
but
not.
He's not.
Third party.
We just never see him again, do we?
Yeah.
Maybe he's
I
in one of
imagine
the
that
later films.
that's another thing that's probably explored in the follow-up films as well. I
Yeah,
imagine.
must
That's
be.
probably the reason, obviously, that stuff is being, made.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's because I think he mentions it when he's talking to him, like something's been set up or something, so they just need him to get that. But yeah.
Yeah. They were definitely setting up a sequel, which is weird because I don't know if it was a series of books or just the one book and then they continued it in movies. I don't know. I imagine Jurassic World there weren't any books. I don't know.
I mean, Jurassic World was just based on, it is what we talked about before, about just based on nostalgia and themselves.
Yeah. I've never seen a movie, so I don't know if it's any good. I know the most recent one is apparently awful, and I know they're doing another one.
Why? Haven't they already done 3 at this point?
No, they've done 2. I think the third is in the works. Jurassic World
why they're doing a third
3.
then.
Jurassic World 3 Dominion is what it's called, and it comes out next year.
I saw the first one, and it was interesting, but the only thing about it is you're constantly asking the question, why would anyone do this? Why?
Yeah.
And it kind of ruins it for me. It frustrates me.
Do they at least have a thread of, well, technology's more advanced now, so surely we can control them this time? Because
to a degree.
Because I feel like that could
Chris
almost
Pratt comes in,
justify.
it's like, hey, you guys fucked up.
Did they try and make it more of a comedy? Because it's a modern movie?
Not really, no.
Okay.
It's weird though. It's weirdly paced as well.
Huh.
Like, they clearly tried to do exactly the same thing the first film did because they've got the same dynamic. They've got the kids as well. Like,
it's like a soft reboot, but it doesn't really work for a movie.
It is like how it's done. Except things are more connected, a lot more connected, and as a result, there needs to be time for the people to, do their thing. So, but yeah, it's a lot more aggressive with the dinosaurs and stuff because it's more parks open.
Yeah. Oh
so
god, yeah.
There's a lot. It's basically it's basically a what if scenario if it did work immediately, and then
that's kind of cool.
That. So then they start fucking with it a bit more, playing God, and then they make something that's probably shouldn't have been made.
Oh yeah, don't they make? I know this much. Don't they make like a mega dinosaur that didn't even exist back then or some shit?
Yeah, they combine a bunch of dinosaurs, and
they were too busy asking
raptors.
if they could. That
Yeah.
they didn't stop
It's
to wonder if
obviously
it should.
Yeah.
The
I
premise
think
of the whole new movie.
I think that's actually said in that movie. I can't remember.
I know it's obviously said in Jurassic Park, but
I think Chris Pratt said it at some
Yeah.
point.
I bet
but
you
yeah,
look directly into the
whole
camera and go ben 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 ben.
There's your meme material there, my dudes. But yeah, it's basically it's more of a bigger, bolder scale. But some of it doesn't make sense to me, and it seems a bit dumb. But it seems more like a weird horror movie.
Do you think?
Than what this film is?
Do you think they made the plot? They made sure that the plot was about a new type of dinosaur, so they could sell a new type of dinosaur toy.
The thing is with that though is it doesn't look crazy different from other dinosaurs. It looks like a T-Rex that's like slightly different.
Oh, okay. A
Like,
T-Rex, but it's got wings. That'd be terrifying
It's just a big boy basically.
for a big boy. Speaking of scary T-Rexes, though, back to that scene where the power's gone off and the cars have stopped and the T-Rex starts attacking the children. That scene keeps going. I was like, oh my god, surely like this is gonna. And we're getting to like the best part of this film now, where it's like the horror part of it, but like
Suddenly kicking off, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, oh okay, like the adults are gonna. It took so long for the adults to distract the T-Rex that I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, these kids, like the
But yeah,
T-Rex
I think
is going for him.
This is the very first time they see the T-Rex as well.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the great things. It lines up exactly when the audience sees it. When the audience sees it, so do the characters.
That's very true.
It's very set up to be like, holy shit, like.
And I was impressed at just how convincingly they, like, obviously I think this would have been the CGI, although there were some shots of like an animatronic head, like
for sure,
poking
like,
into the
it's
car,
just, like bashing into it, and like the little little breathing. And
Yeah.
stuff and windows and stuff.
but the combination
So
of the two like made it so believable, and
Yes.
I had to keep reminding myself this is a film from 1993 because I wasn't going, oh, you can kind of see how the dinosaur is an animatronic in that scene because you could. No, I was going, Jesus Christ, get out of the car, run away! And then I was like, oh my god, this movie is like over 20 years old, over 25 years old. Oh, we're
It's
fucking.
almost 30 years old.
Yeah. Oh, it aged so well, like in those
It
scenes.
is. It's fantastic, and it baffles me and makes the film so much more enjoyable as well.
Yeah, like you can feel their terror of not knowing, just like how much perseverance the dinosaur fucking has, and like what angle it's gonna come at them next. It doesn't just attack them; it tries new ways of attacking them. It's like, okay, I couldn't get in through the window, so I'm gonna crush the car on top of them. All this kind of shit.
I think the idea is that I don't think the idea is specifically he's going for them. He's just like, this thing is moving and it's alive.
Yeah.
Maybe I should like. It looks weird though. I don't know how to. Maybe I should Maybe I should go through the top. Oh, there's stuff in here. Okay. Oh, okay. That didn't work. Maybe
Yeah.
if I like impair it by flipping it upside down, because then it starts biting at its underbelly of the car,
Yeah.
which is what it would do if it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
attacking
If it
an
was a
animal.
creature,
it would flip
yeah.
it on its back.
It
and
rips
attack
out-
its stomach.
It rips out a bit of a car, and then it like, and, oh, this isn't food, and then it like throws it away. Like you can tell.
And then it goes for what would be the leg, I guess, and starts like biting at the rubber of the tire.
Yeah, and like.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the best parts about this movie. There is absolutely no sentiment that the dinosaur recognises children and goes, huff, blink, and the children are like, oh, it's letting us go, kind of thing. There is none of that in this movie. I bet there is in Jurassic World. There's none of that in this movie.
I can't remember actually.
I feel like I remember hearing something about Chris Pratt befriending a dinosaur.
Yeah, he asserts himself as like the alpha of raptors.
Yeah, fuck
raptors.
that. No, there's...
It's very odd and very dumb. Let's be honest.
The scariest part about this is these dinosaurs are hungry, looking for food. They're a force of nature. They don't give a shit about you. They just give a shit about the fact that you are food and that they are hunting you, and it's done so well in movement and in just perseverance, and I love it.
So it constantly brings up the whole thing of like these guys didn't know what they were doing as well, because I mean I can't remember. I don't remember any of the names. So, but the lady, like when they're all sat down eating, she's basically just like, you don't know what you're doing. You've got poisonous plants in here. Like
yeah.
Like just that statement. I was like, yeah, these guys don't know what they're doing. If they can't even like put the plants in the right, like put, non-poisonous plants in these places, do you think they'd be able to deal with these giant monsters? Like,
yeah.
Not at all.
And to round off the T-Rex scene, or at least this half of the T-Rex scene, I put bye toilet lawyer. Hello, childhood memory. But also I put that, how at that point John Hammond's going, fuck, what about my grandkids? They're out there, the power's down. And Laura Dern's character with that other guy, they're like, oh, we'll go pick him up in the gas jeep. What's interesting about that is that the electrified cars have stopped because the power's out, but the gas jeep, which is powered by fossil fuels and is like, at least where we are as a society, it's seen as like an older part of technology, but it's like this film has an element of like they don't make them like they used to, and like the older stuff is more like reliable. Like the folly of modern technology again rears its head in the fact that the electric cars can't move, but the gas one is successful in going out and coming back, and like it helps them escape from the T-Rex slightly later on as well. Basically, it's not exactly don't fuck with the natural order, because gas jeeps aren't the natural order, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's this whole...
I mean, that in itself is a statement that's brought up anyway, but it is very much a case of don't overstretch, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's a case of like overcommitting to one thing.
Yeah.
And like, because the guy is basically going like, this will work, I know it's going to work because I said so, like, and then it starts going wrong, and he's like, why is it going wrong? And it's like, well, because you're an idiot, for what?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the human element that actually makes it all go wrong in the end as well.
And not knowing the password.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the magic word. You didn't say the magic word.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's a meme.
So we've got to the part of the movie where Dennis meets his end. Did you notice when he slipped, there was a little... I can't even do it. There was a little whistle
there's like
noise.
A proper like cartoonist like...
Yeah, and I think... I said that was a bit much, but...
Yeah, it was like, alright, come on.
At the same time, though, it is in character for him. He's like this cartoon
like
villain.
Like idiot,
yeah.
I mean, like, when he leaves and he's like, I was gonna go and go, do you guys want anything? I'm just gonna go, this is gonna kill some stuff from it, but,
yeah.
Okay. And it's like, he's so clearly doing something weird.
If he was...
Because I guess that's just his character at this point, everyone's just like, yeah, whatever.
If he existed in 2020, his background would have been of an anime waifu, rather than a regular waifu.
Most likely.
When he's talking to the... What's it called again? That dinosaur that kills him?
The... God.
Diphilus something.
You had it. What it's called now. Dilophosaurus.
Dilophosaurus. When he's talking to the Dilophosaurus, firstly, I love how the Dilophosaurus is like, oh. He's like looking at him like, oh, you look like a lot of food. And Dennis is going, I have no food, I have nothing on me. Like, come on, leave me alone, I don't care about you. Because first of all, he doesn't know what dinosaur that is and what it's capable of. Again, part of the whole folly of man. But secondly, oh, Dennis, you are the food. It's looking for food, and you can recognise that. You can recognise the instinct that it's looking for food, but you don't realise that it's not looking for something from a fucking candy machine. It's looking for something from the human machine.
Yeah, sure. It's not even that. It's like, again, this is a case of like, this is something I don't think I've really seen before. This is a really strange thing in front of me. And then obviously he approaches it, and he's like, oh, it's making strange noises at me. What is it? Oh, it threw a stick. That's weird. I'm gonna follow it. And then it starts. There's probably a point where it's like, obviously he's being like fearful to some degree, and he's like, oh, it's scared of me, because a lot of animals, and I imagine dinosaurs is probably no exception as well. Back obviously when they were around. There's some animals that can sense fear in other creatures, and it could have just been a case of just like it realized the fear and was like, oh, you're scared of me, I can eat you.
Yeah.
And then obviously it attacks.
And when you think of it, those head fins come out. Isn't that when he starts to be like, okay, I'm just going to start making my way back to the car?
Oh fuck! And then he immediately gets.
That's instinct. Those head fins are designed to intimidate. And the second that dinosaur realized, oh, he's intimidated, it was like, oh, I can eat him. Oh, that's good. There's a lot of him to eat, actually. I should probably stop dwelling on that. Because he is a real human being, or was. I don't even know. Wayne Knight is his name. But yeah. I think that's part of his character, though. That's probably what they cast him for.
Yeah, for sure.
All of Dennis.
He's just there for the jokes.
All of Dennis's dreams buried in the mud. My next line is from the scene when, which must have been shortly after this, when they're in the gas jeep driving as fast as they can away. In fact, that means I skipped the entire part where they're in the tree and the jeep starts falling down. Sorry, that's a really good scene. That's like, oh, it's not like just gonna be them in danger of dying to dinosaurs the entire time. Like this is a human element like thing that can crush them. Yeah. And like obviously the dinosaur put it there. I say that like it gently placed it. Obviously it's there because of a T-Rex fucking bashed it into the tree. But at the same time it's I don't know. I would have written a note if I'd thought a thing out about it, but I just think that's a really good scene where he's trying to rescue the kid and it's very tense and very scary.
Yeah.
And
it's weird because it's like in a world where they just escaped the T-Rex, the biggest threat right now is a car falling out of a tree.
Yeah. And of course it lands on top of them and they're inside the car again and they're safe. I was like, that's a movie moment right there.
One of the things that I noticed about that is the continuity is very good in this movie because the specific tire that the T-Rex ripped off isn't on the car when it lands on them. And I was like, good. That's good continuity. Well done.
I don't typically look out for continuity like that.
It's just something I noticed and I was like, oh.
Nice attention to detail. This is a Spielberg film.
Yes, for sure.
Although I'm sure it doesn't overlook every single tiny little detail like that. There's a whole cast and crew. But yeah, when they are getting chased by the T-Rex in the gas jeep after they've been rescued, objects in the mirror may be... objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. I put,
that must have started in this film.
Yeah. I went, this is a silly movie. Yeah. Oh, this is a silly movie. So whereas before I had the realisation of, this is a commentary on ethics in corporations and stuff, I had a second epiphany here of, this is also a silly movie. It's not afraid to be a little absurd sometimes.
It's funny as well because the silly moments are set up in moments where nothing really happens as well, which is good. Like they're being chased by a dinosaur, but it doesn't catch them, and that silly moment is in that, and I think that's very good. I mean, the only other silly moment is obviously with Dennis, but obviously he fucking dies, so that's like, because he's the villain. That's just how that happens.
Yeah,
but
they made sure we were educated about the fact that it was acid beforehand as well. That was very well done.
Yeah.
The
like
setup and
exactly, setting it up, paying it off, like immediately.
Yep. And I got that sense before it even started paying off. Something about the way they were setting all these things up, I was like, that's going to be important later, isn't it?
That's the thing. Everything that was set up was paid off, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, the T-Rex won't eat this, it only hunts for stuff. The raptors will trick you.
That's why I thought they were all going to die at the end with the cold. They were going to get War of the Worlds, but no, that's probably for a sequel. Oh jeez, I just almost deleted half my notes by accident. Oh no, I scrolled all the way to the bottom. Damn it, where am I? That's the goat. Professional podcasting right here. So after they have escaped... No, they're still split up at this point, aren't they? They're split up until the end of the movie.
Because you're coming up to the part now where Jeff Goldblum's got his shirt open and he's looking all seductive.
I've got a note about that. Where is it? It's later on as well because he has his shirt open for so fucking long. Jeff Goldblum needs to have his chest out, is my note.
Yeah. It's funny as well because out of context he just looks like he's trying to be like seductive, but in context he's actually in a lot of pain.
Yeah, he's in a lot of pain, but it's hard looking that good. But yeah, I was gonna say, so this is obviously the point of the movie as well, where Alan has the kids in the tree and they're looking at the very alien-looking landscape of a Brachiosaurus against like is that the sunset or the dawn? I don't even know because the storm.
It would be the sunset.
The sunset.
It was as they were going to sleep.
Weirdly, it kind of reminded me of a PS1 game, Oddworld. There's a point in that where the sky is a very similar color. That's all I really remember. Though it's a very old game I haven't played recently, but it's very much depicted as like an alien scene. Like, holy fuck, how did we get here? Like, stop and take a breath and look at this. And there's actually beauty amidst all the terror. And the part I like about that scene is when Alan picks out the Velociraptor claw from his pocket that he brought with him from his archaeological dig, and he's looking at it, and it's like, that used to be such a big thing to him. Like, holy shit, I just dug up a Velociraptor claw. Like, I can imagine him looking at that and being like, wow, like, this used to belong to a creature that would have used this to rip and tear at its enemies, and like, this had thought behind it, and like, this has millions of years of evolution behind it. I can imagine being that in awe about something like that, because I love history and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And he's looking at it, and then he looks at the Brachiosauruses, and then he just chucks it out of the tree, because he's like,
it's like,
I've seen some real shit now. Yeah.
Exactly. Nothing's going to compare to the raw experience of just being in a situation, to be around something real. Like that, you know?
I thought that was a really nice moment for his character as well. And it's so important in movies. We don't get an inner monologue, except for the movies where we do, and that's a weird thing to pull off in a movie. But most movies, most movies, we don't get an inner monologue for the characters like you do in a book, and especially since this is an adaptation of a book, I don't know how.
It's the thing as well, because narration, like, obviously narration is usually used for an inner monologue.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it comes out as cheesy.
Yeah.
And very much like it just doesn't fit in with the theme of everything. It kind of just ruins a lot of stuff. But that's what I mean with the acting as well. Obviously, we mentioned the acting as well. Is he acts it well enough where you can work that out. Yeah,
it falls on the actor and the writing to set up that as being a part of his character early in the film, and then pay it off through acting in a wordless moment to have that inner monologue of, I used to think this was such a crazy find, and like that, and now like look at the world I'm in and all this stuff. He doesn't say a word, but you get that just watching him. And
like I said, Steven Spielberg's direction is fantastic.
Yeah, and I've not read the book, but I imagine there's something like that in the internal monologue for that character.
I'm sure, yeah. And that's the thing with books as well. That's like why books are hard to translate to films, and why a lot of things can be lost as well. Is like these moments of quiet. Yeah. I mean, especially if it's from the perspective of someone. If you're not going to narrate it, then it becomes a lot harder to get your message across. But there are ways of doing it, and once you do it, it pulls it off fantastically, and you really stick in the moment with that character.
Exactly. And my final note from this scene is friendly Brachiosaurus with a little free face.
That was one of the things that was very clearly a robot as well.
When it comes up close to the
very
tree.
Clearly a robot. Yeah, but that's like, I don't think that could have been avoided in any way.
No, because they did not yet have the technology to pat a CGI dinosaur.
Yeah, because of the proximity to people as well. Because it was moving a lot. Yeah, like it was very clearly on a stick that was moving back and forth.
Yeah.
With the Triceratops, when they were obviously quite close, it was just doing a static thing. It wasn't really doing anything else.
For
so
the
they
Triceratops,
could prop the shit out of it.
I have a feeling. Sorry, I can't.
I was gonna say they prop the shit out of it, put all sorts of like crap on it and stuff, like obviously with his tongue and everything, and texture and everything like that, and it just sits there and like moves up and down. One part of it moves up and down. That's it. So with Brachiosaurus, the entire thing's moving. So it's a little bit harder to make it look good, especially when it's quite bright early morning light as well.
Yeah.
So you can see everything.
Yeah.
But it still looks like, I would say it was passable to a degree.
I mean, it wasn't a shot that I necessarily picked out as like, oh, this is one of the bad ones. Like, I didn't really think about it when I was watching it like that. So I think it was probably in the back of my mind of, oh, this is clearly like they're moving a big stick around. But like,
yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say you reminded me of a Triceratops. I forgot to mention. I would not be surprised if they used a rhino for some of those shots because it looks so fucking realistic.
It looked really good. Like, I was impressed by how good that fucking Triceratops.
I wouldn't be surprised if they found
it was the thing that was very clearly the most like. I mean, like I said, a lot of it comes down because it wasn't moving. Yeah. So they could literally make it purely practical and then have the actors and stuff touching it and like obviously being around it and stuff. but it looked fantastic. So the practical effects, a thumbs up because it looked great.
Yeah. Well, I searched Jurassic Park Triceratops and it just froze on Google, so I'm not going to be able to do some quick searching on that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Google.
But it honestly, like, that's the thing as well. A lot of the moments in this film, I was like, how did they do that? Like, how did they make it look this good? Like, there was so many points where it's like, and a lot of it comes down to how it's edited as well. With this latest stuff, the raptors walking around with their clicky little nails, the clicky little claws. And then it cuts them actually like fully walking around, and then back to certain shots of, like, their head, and that's what I mean. Like the full establishing shots of them are focused on not too long enough where you're like, oh, that looks weird. Like, and it's intermingled with the practical stuff so well. It's fantastically edited, and everything is intermingled so fantastically well.
Smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Magicians, directors of, at least in that era of cinema. Magicians.
For sure, yeah. I mean, there's a reason Steven Spielberg's like very well renowned.
Yeah.
You know, done a lot of big name movies.
Yeah. So we've approached the electric fence, and we're switching between shots of they're about to go up the electric fence, and oh, Google, you've betrayed me by there she is, Laura Dern's character. Laura Dern's character is about to switch on the electric fence because they've just gone to go and turn on the power.
Yeah. Oh, I love that like back and forth like that scene.
Yeah.
It's so good.
First of all, at this point, Samuel L. Jackson is dead. They did him dirty. They did him real dirty. Don't know why. I wonder if there was some kind of backstory there of, like, maybe there was some kind of conflict where he had to suddenly go and do another movie, or he pissed off Steven Spielberg or something, so he just got off-screened. I don't know. But he definitely... that arm did not belong to Samuel L. Jackson. That's for sure. And I just think it's weird that he disappeared so quickly. But I guess you could argue that it was used as a... People can die so suddenly without anyone even knowing. That's how deadly the velociraptors are. Like, he got hunted, and you didn't even hear so much as a radio squeak out of him because he got killed too quickly and brutally. So that's probably an argument that could be made for that. I just think it was weird. But either way, she's in the room, she's turning on the electric fence, and it's swapping between them and the kid on the electric fence. And I just think that's cruel. I hate dramatic irony like that, because it just makes you sit on the edge of your seat and go, come on, don't show me that. But at least they actually pay it off and have the kid actually get zapped instead of having it be tension for no reason, if you know what I mean. And I did say the kid was a little bastard or whatever I said earlier, so I guess he deserved it. But I typically hate stuff like that in movies where it's like, oh, you as the audience know, but I hate that in like rom-coms as well, where it's not even a thing of tension. It's just like, oh no,
it's just a misunderstanding.
I can explain, and it's like, come on,
so
it's just frustrating. At least in rom-coms it's frustrating, but here it's like, oh god, like tension, like annoying tension that could be avoided. Did it have to be this way?
So I've done a quick look this up, by the way. Jurassic Park was when it came out, it actually was the third time one of Spielberg's films became the highest grossing film ever.
Oh, okay. So this
apparently
is...
in '93 it was the highest grossing film ever.
So he's still up on the rise.
3 years later, he did direct the sequel.
Okay, cool. Good to know. I was wondering about that, and I've toyed with the idea of just watching every Spielberg film like back to back or something, but I think that's too difficult to do when we're going through all of these movies. Like, we've definitely put some things on the list which is like so and so films, like Studio Ghibli films and all of that. But
Steven Spielberg films definitely a good idea because you've got stuff like Saving Private Ryan. You've got Indiana Jones, which you've already added, so probably just include that. And then you've got Schindler's List is probably a good one as well. I don't think I've watched that, but obviously I've heard good things about that one.
I've heard depressing things about that one. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good film. So.
Yeah.
Hooray!
But yeah, the Velociraptor. This is a point in my notes where I start freaking out. There's loads of exclamation marks and capital letters used, even though I know I'm not going to be showing the actual physical notes. This is just how into the movie I was. For instance, I put the fucking Velociraptor jump scare. Oh yeah, and here we go.
I knew it was coming.
Did you?
I remember just before it came. Yeah. I was like, wait, isn't this the part where? And then he came out, and I was like, yep, there it is. Didn't catch me, and I was very happy.
Well, I got it wrong earlier when I said it was a brutal death that fucked me up. I think this fucked me up as a kid. That happened, and then I paused it, and then I went, whoa. Because I vaguely remembered crying and hugging into my dad at that point in the movie when I first saw it. Because it comes out at her, sorry. I'm going to sneeze. Oh.
Bless you.
Thank you. But yeah, that was a very well executed jump scare, and it was the only jump scare I believe in the movie. Obviously you have a clever girl moment shortly after, but that's not a jump scare, that's like a oh. And I'll get back to that in a second, but yeah, I think as a kid that if it's a false memory and I don't remember it scaring the shit out of me, I at least know that it would have scared the shit out of me. And it was so sudden, and like Laura Dern's character, fucking what's her name, Ellie Sattler, she's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like very believable in that scene. It almost makes me wonder if they didn't just throw the animatronic at her without warning her so that she would fucking react realistically.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, that was a scene, and then very shortly afterwards, we see the clever girl scene.
Yeah.
Which I think is the most horrifying death in the whole movie. What do you think?
It is. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's very brutal, and there's a lot of screaming.
There's a lot of tension leading up to it.
Yeah.
And then she shows up, and it's almost like he knows he's dead because he doesn't immediately whip the shotgun around.
Yeah, he knows. He's just like,
clever girl, but that doesn't stop him from screaming horribly.
I mean, yeah, he's in pain.
He's in a lot of pain.
Tore apart by, as he explained, with the razor sharp fucking claws and shit.
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing that's paid. That's the thing that set up and paid off as well. Where he's like, because if you've been paying attention, he's watching the guy and he's watching the raptor and he's like, oh, but he said the thing earlier, and so obviously then naturally there's another one off to his side that attacks him. Yeah, because they said that if you were being hunted by a velociraptor, you would be hunting one and then two more would circle around and take you from the sides. Isn't that what they say at some point? Yeah. He says while you're watching that one, two more will be on you before you even realise.
Yeah. I didn't even realise that until you just said it. So yeah, another setup and payoff.
Mm-hmm.
You magnificent bastards. But when I think of that scene, the main thing I think about is the claws. Like, the way it leaps like front and back legs at him and just takes him out is horrible. And
it is, claws exposed.
But it's also worth noting you don't see a huge amount of gore in this film, and it's still horrible.
It's very like censored, but not like.
Well, I wouldn't say it's censored, because it's not like there was gore and they got rid of it.
I would say that one's a bit much in it, because it's just a giant leaf across the whole screen.
Oh, right.
Kind of like catch like little bits, but it's like it's very like on purpose. So like a lot of the rest is kind of like off screen. That one's on screen, but they just chuck a giant leaf in front.
But when you think about it, the Velociraptors, the way they're built up is a 1-2-3 punch. Because one, Samuel L. Jackson gets killed off screen, and we see what happened to him. But the fact that it happens so silently and so like non-event of a way, builds up Velociraptors as terrifyingly like stealthy and brutal in that you see his severed arm. And then two, you see what it's like from an actual character's point of view when you get hunted and how horrible that is, and we hear the guy screams and we're subjected to how much pain you're in when you get killed by a velociraptor. And then three, they then send the velociraptors after the kids, and you've got that playing in the back of your mind as they're being hunted. So it very much sets up stakes for the final act of the movie.
Yeah. Going back to that severed arm thing though, someone actually mentioned this back along when they were talking about Jurassic Park. This was a while ago. But the fucking scene with the severed arm. So, to my understanding of this scene, what basically has happened is the raptor has taken the arm, set it up just to scare Laura Dern. That's all it is there for. It literally just falls on her, scares her, and she runs. Nothing else happens.
I'm imagining the velociraptor just like placing the arm up there, like, that'll get her. That'll get her real good.
Like,
and it
so
waits,
straight.
and then it sits there and waits for her to switch all the switches, and then it's like, hey guys, watch this, I'm gonna scare the shit out of her. Oh, that's amazing. I didn't think about that.
Because it's like propped up, and then she knocks into it and it falls on her. It's like, why did it prop it up on the pipes?
Fuck's sake. Clever girl indeed.
Clever girl indeed, yes.
So I put the Velociraptors are literally fucking terrifying. Oh my god! And then my next note is, oh man, The False Shelter 2. This movie is wicked. I hate movies which are like, and I think a lot of like horror style movies do this, where they're like, you've escaped. Thank God. Oh,
I mean, they did it with Dennis earlier on as well, with Dilophosaurus. He's like, cool, I'm in the car. No, it's in here with me.
Yeah, but this is more on a movie structural level, where you're aware that the movie's been going on for a while, and it's the kids alone, and it's not such a big deal, like, wow, we found shelter. It's more like, okay, you'll be safe here. Stay here while I go find the others. And you're thinking, okay, so now we're going to focus on Alan Grant, and instead it stays on the kids, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then you slowly start to realize,
it's like, oh, they're on the way, and then obviously it goes back, and it's like, oh, Raptor's here. All right.
Yeah, you start to realize as they realize. And
that scene is very good as well.
Oh, it's just like, it's been set up as such like this is a safe area, and it's another thing which I don't actually hate, but like I hate false shelters where it's like, oh, we finally got a break. No, we haven't. And
well, they get a small respite at the very least, like they're stuff, and then suddenly like,
and that extremely tense scene in the kitchen with all child actors and animatronics. That's well done, so well done.
Those kid actors were fantastic as well.
They were.
Say. Like it was, everything was so believable. Like the was it Timmy? He was having such a fucking good time, whereas the other one was just like, I am having the worst time.
I like how the grown-ups don't really save them. They kind of save themselves.
Yeah. That's what I love about it as well. It's a level of like practicality as well. Of like, it's not like I'm a kid, I'm useless. It's I'm a kid, but my survival instinct is going crazy.
Yeah, like when she hides in the fucking cupboard, and she looks trapped, and then the Velociraptor sees her reflection, but obviously we don't know it's a reflection, and she screams. I think she does that on purpose, right? To get the Velociraptor to headbutt the thing and get hurt.
Runs into it, she gets out. Yeah.
Clever girl. And I was like, oh shit, the kids are outsmarting the Velociraptors right now. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, because then Timmy runs into the freezer, turns around, and then he obviously slips over immediately. And they just close the door.
Yeah, they do start to panic towards the end of that scene, though, don't they?
Yeah, because they're both screaming, which I found kind of like the fucking shot where it's following her and she's running across the room screaming and then locks the door.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Oh, and then there's no safe shelter. Even when they go down to the fucking computer room, it's like
Yep.
And the security's back. They're coming through the windows.
Yeah. It's like constant. It's so good.
Yeah, but I like how she's
they mentioned that early on as well. It's like they can problem solve.
Yeah.
Meaning like, you may have like stopped one way, but they'll find another way in.
Yeah. Although that shotgun was not very effective. I guess it's because it's being wielded by a scientist. But all you hear is the gunshots across the radio, and then you see the windows have got like some shell marks in them, and the guns on the floor, and they're running away. And I'm like, how shit are you?
I mean, yeah, he's a scientist. Doesn't know how to use a fucking gun, does he?
True. But I think that's probably the point of them zooming in on the shells kind of like coming out of the gun. It's like, oh, he didn't realise how to reload in time, and they just ran. But I like how slightly before that, it's the little girl who does the hacking. That was, for 1993, that's a good subversion of gender expectations, where it's like, oh, she's the computer geek.
There's a lot of that as well, because that's the scene I remember, because there's a point where it's like, Jeff Goldblum specifically goes over it, where it's when they're on the way through the park to begin with, and then Jeff Goldblum's like, dinosaurs on Earth, God kills dinosaurs, humans on the Earth, humans kill God, humans create dinosaurs, and then was it Laura Dern's character? She goes, dinosaurs eat man, and then women take over.
Women inherit the Earth. Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Queen.
And also, when this is slightly after they've escaped the Velociraptors for the 15th time, and they're all together in the bunker with shirtless Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum, and she's like, oh, wait, hang on, no, I've got my timeline fucked up, ignore me. Isn't it when she says she's going to go turn on the power? Yeah. It's when she says she's going to turn on the power.
I should go.
Oh, I should go.
At her and she's like,
We can discuss sexism and survivalism later. She runs off. Yeah, that was cool. So yeah, this film does not fucking let up is my fourth to final note. So yeah.
Yes.
Have you noticed how this film doesn't let you breathe until like the last 30 seconds?
It's funny as well because it reminds me so much of the ending to the first Resident Evil game and how it's set up, which is hilarious because Capcom also made a game in a similar style called Dino Crisis, which is pretty much like Resident Evil but it's dinosaurs.
I mean, the way these things work, who knows? They could have made a Jurassic Park game and then like pitched it to whoever owns the rights to Jurassic Park, and then they could have said no, so they just had to rebrand it and then do it.
That'd be interesting to look it up actually, see if that was the case. But yeah, and because like especially because like there's a whole like build up and then they get to the helicopter finally and then there's the thing and then there's the respite at the end.
Yeah,
that's always something that happens in Resident Evil games is they're on the helicopter out there.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, oh my god, finally we can rest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, last 30 seconds was an exaggeration. It's more like the last like 3 or 4 minutes, isn't it? But it felt like the last 30 seconds. And I was gonna say, this movie maybe does wrap up a bit too quickly, where they're surrounded by velociraptors and they're all gonna get eaten, and they're all gonna get ate, and the T-Rex bursts in. And to be fair, doesn't save them because Dinosaur has some latent care for humans. It just saves them because it's looking for another meal, and then the Velociraptor takes out the T-Rex. And I dubbed this Deus Rex Machina.
Well, think of it, it's funny as well because it's one of those things. Everything like I'm gonna bring on. This is my like meme quote to always use for me. By the way, when we do these, everything happens for a reason. In that, obviously, they're stood still because they're like cowering away. The raptor jumps, so he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go for the raptor because he's moving a lot, and I can see him." Grabs the raptor, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we'll get out of here." So obviously, the raptor's like, "Oh, bigger threat," and then turns his attention away. Rather than food, it's survival. Then at that point, obviously that's an escape.
I'm just slightly disappointed because I spent an hour and 20 minutes building up to Deus Rex Machina. And then you just breezed right past it. It is the title of this episode. VOD viewers and podcast, podcast listeners might have noticed as well. That's the title of this episode because I wrote it down last night and I went, "I'm so fucking clever." And my final note on the film was, well, I can see why people love Spielberg. Holy shit.
Yeah. Like this was like his third like highest grossing film, by the way. I want to point out.
Yeah.
His third. So this was like peak Spielberg as well. So it's no wonder it's so good.
Steven Spielberg filmography. Let's look at this. So he did. Okay, so it looks like his first major movie that I recognise is Jaws. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., and then more Indiana Jones. Hook, Jurassic Park.
Hook's a great movie.
I didn't realise Schindler's List was that old of a movie. It's in the same year as Jurassic Park.
We should do Hook at some point as well because it's a version of Peter Pan, isn't it?
Mm. Well, I know hardly anything about it, but yeah. Oh, and this year
Robin Williams is in it.
He's got a movie coming out this year. Sorry, not Robin Williams. That would be a bit weird.
I was going to say, Jesus.
No, West Side Story. It's a Steven Spielberg movie that's coming out this year.
Oh, I've heard it. What did you say, Monty? Night mode on YouTube. It should be in the settings somewhere.
I found night mode on Twitch last night when you were streaming, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I was being blinded by my phone, and then I was like, wait, I'm sure I can fix this. I was like, oh, yay! But yeah. Those are all my notes on Jurassic Park. That film though, like the first half of it, I was kind of bored of. The second half of it, I couldn't stop thinking about after I've watched it. I was so impressed. It's such a good movie.
And that's the thing. Like, I think it's one of the things that a lot of filmmakers are afraid of. Like more modern films are afraid of doing now is the setting up and taking the time to set up, because the setting up, it's slow going, sure, but then it makes the movie better as the whole.
Yeah.
Because it sets it up. It's like, this is gonna be bad, and sets up all these reasons, these conflicting parties, and all this stuff's going on. Bad thing happens, you're like, oh shit, this is what he said would happen, you know.
Yeah.
It's very much like, it's basically, you go into the movie, it spends half an hour being like, bad thing is going to happen, bad thing happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And then obviously you're along for the ride for the rest. Like, it doesn't shy away from the fact that it's like, everyone isn't like, oh wow, it's so amazing. It's this is, you shouldn't have done this. And then you get the conflicting ideas of, I honestly think, so here's my take on it. So, rich old man. I honestly think the idea behind him is that his whole thing is that he wants to create something that no one's ever done before. He wants to create this beautiful, like, thing that people will come from miles around to see. Because one of the things he says to the lawyer guy, because the lawyer guy is basically just like, oh, we can literally charge like thousands for this, and people will still come. And he's like, well, no, I want everyone to be able to access this, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Exactly what I want it to be. I want it to be this huge, majestic thing that people come from all over the world and be so impressed by. Right? He doesn't care about the branding. He cares about enjoyment. And maybe obviously that ambition probably went too far. But like, he's not necessarily a bad person for wanting or doing what he did. He's just uneducated.
You could probably write a whole essay about whether he's well, not whether he is bad or not, but like the amount of blame and like.
I guess intention and like. Yeah. Obviously, like it's the whole idea of like, I guess, like, if you want to be more brutal, like, I guess, manslaughter and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, like, absolutely.
Yeah, like
he's the reason so many people are dead.
Because it's one of those things. It's subject to whether intent is there or not. And the intent is completely innocent. I think his intent is completely the idea. He wants to make this incredible thing. What's it he says to Laura Dern? He says something about like a flea circus.
Yeah, he when I first came down from Scotland. No, that's not what he sounds like. He set up a flea circus, and he felt a little bit depressed about how all of the kids were going, wow, look, you can see all the fleas and all the shit that they're doing. And he was like, wow, these kids are swearing too much. No, he was like, oh, it's all fake though. Like, it felt false to him, and he wanted like something that they could really see was like real. Yeah. And that was kind of the whole idea behind his character as to why he did Jurassic Park. And
it's funny because that reminds me of I think we've got this on our list, Greatest Showman, which we're not going to do next week because that would be me. But,
I don't like musicals.
The whole character, P.T. Barnum, his whole character is about obviously he's a philanthropist, so he's very like, he has crazy ideas and he's like, yes, let's do them, and then he like does them, and obviously he starts the whole like sort of like circus, but a lot of it he exaggerates, and so it's fake to a certain degree. And there's a point where he meets the singer, and he's basically like, I basically want you to come over to America and tour a bunch of places, we'll do it together. And he's basically like, and she's like, well, why would you want me to do that? And he's like, well, I would like to give my audience something real for once. Because I think the quote he says is, my customers come to the circus for the joy of being hoodwinked. Just for once, I would like to give them something real.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of mentality. Obviously different scales, different obviously motivations, blah, blah, blah. But it reminded me so heavily of that character, and why I like that character as well. And it made me realize, like, okay, this isn't a bad character. It's just someone who has ambition and has probably overdone it. I mean, with something like this, obviously it's something that you probably should be very knowledgeable about, let's be honest. Clearly these people were not knowledgeable in any way, and so as a result things went sideways very quickly and people died. Yeah.
But I think when you're thinking about his character, John Hammond, when you said rich old man, I was like, who's Richard Oldman?
It was Gary Oldman, sorry.
I think the thing you have to recognise about his character is obviously he's got all these good intentions, but the fact that he didn't shut the whole project down the second the first person got even injured, that it's very much, and not to tie everything I ever say back to what's going on in the world today, but we're very much like the school of thought these days is looking at what people do rather than what they say, and he did not do the responsible thing, like the second it merited doing, or before it merited doing, and because of that, like, you need to view his character a little bit more malevolently than he's necessarily portrayed. I think. So that's just an interesting modern take on the movie, I think.
Yeah, I honestly think, like, the idea, he's just so, like, wrapped up in his idea that he knows it can work, that it kind of overclouds any sort of, like, logic of being like, people are dying, maybe I should, like, stop this now. And so he constantly is just like, no, we can fix it, we can make it better, we can this is just bumps in the road, we can
we have the technology,
we can fix everything,
we can rebuild
and
it.
then and then it's like everyone's just like, dude, people are dead.
Yeah.
And then obviously at the end of the film he gets to the point where he's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, but it takes him a whole movie to get there. Even when his grandchildren are missing and people have already started dying, he's thinking about, oh, but I can fix this. Next time what I'll do is this. I won't have all the automated stuff. And it's like, it's too late. Come on.
An interesting point for his character as well. He never directly runs into any of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And I think that's a very good reason for why he's still kind of sticking to his guns for a while.
Because he
doesn't first-hand experience it. People are talking about these horrible things. He's like, well, I haven't seen it.
He says, I always want to be around.
It can't be that bad, surely.
He said, he says, I always want to be around when they hatch so that I can imprint on them, right? What's the... if he's imprinted on them and they're still killing people, you could say that's kind of a pseudo-metaphor for the responsibility he has of he's got people killed. It's his creation that's killing people. That's his intent. If he's really imprinted himself on... I know this isn't the way it works, but poetically, if he's imprinted himself on these dinosaurs and they're killing people, that's kind of like malevolent, inner malevolence. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's my overreach for the podcast. That's this week's overreach. Overreaching point.
Next time on the overreaching podcast. All right. So I'm gonna say it to you this time. Final thoughts on the movie, friend.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how badly it would have aged going into it. But I was pleasantly surprised. It was a slightly boring first half, but I think it was necessary and it paid off. And I can see why it's such a beloved franchise, why Spielberg is such a beloved director. I think the fact that it holds up so well nearly 30 years later is such an achievement. It's overwhelming how much of an achievement that is. And I thought I would have to be kind of kind to it, kind of appease the people who love it, but be like, it's aged, all that kind of thing. But no, it's a fucking fantastic movie in 2020. And yeah, that's my summary of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like you expected a lot of things going wrong, or a lot of things looking a lot worse than they were. But like we said so many times, it looks fantastic and it's written in such an incredible way.
10 out of 10 would buy dinosaur toys.
10 out of 10 IGN.
Also, there was a shot where the T-Rex roared, and you saw the way its mouth kind of opens at the sides and the kind of gum flaps that those dinosaurs have, and it reminded me of dragons in Game of Thrones. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I guess just general T-Rex artwork and stuff is where dragons get a lot of a head inspiration, for the head and stuff, and the general size and ferocity. But yeah, I just remembered in Game of Thrones where the dragon roared and you could see the fire glands in those gums, and I thought it was a very similar looking shot, so I wonder if that's maybe a callback to a Jurassic Park shot or something, or an homage. I'm going to keep talking because you're frantically thinking of what movie to pick.
I am. How did you know?
Because you asked me to sum up the movie, and I thought, oh, he needs me to vamp right now.
Well, normally you ask me first, so I thought I'd,
True.
So, my question is, I'll ask you this question, basically. So, we've been doing a lot of spectacle stuff. Do you want to do something a bit more less like that, or... Because we have a few ideas for, stuff that would be less, crazy and more, I guess, thinky.
Sure.
Which could be a bit more fun to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look for a few things.
We will make like Dennis Nedry and lose our spectacles. How's that? How's that for some what's the wordplay? We should probably figure these movies out ahead of time in future.
Yeah, we should.
So I feel like I've just put you on the spot, choose a movie.
No, I realised how we were getting on a bit, so I was just gonna double check. Just to point out as well, Schindler's List is on Netflix, but it is a 3-hour film. Violent, dark, emotional. There you go.
I mean, up to you. It's your call. The way I'm kind of playing this whole one of us chooses a movie every cycling week is you state the movie and that's the movie. I don't necessarily want this to be what do I feel like? What do I not feel like? I want this to be one of us says, okay, this week my choice. We're doing this one. It's like, okay, I guess we're doing this one.
I'm just trying to think like what would be worth like. Because I was gonna say start with the Cornetto trilogy, but there's only Hot Fuzz on Netflix right now. We can do Hot Fuzz, but obviously it's.
I mean, it's
a
not.
lot more comedy, so it's probably hard to talk about.
It's not narratively like linked in any way, so that should be fine. But
my probably better pick though would probably be Inception. I don't think it was on the list, but I just remembered it.
You want to do Inception? I'm happy with Inception.
A little bit. I don't think we actually wrote down Inception. Oh no, we did.
Yeah, Inception's good. I will warn you, I have seen Inception, but I've only seen it once.
I've seen it a couple times.
Maybe twice.
But it's a movie that will be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, plenty of stuff to talk about for that.
But it's got a lot of cool people in it.
Yeah. Okay, so next week, not this week, otherwise that would be a bit of a time fuck. Next week, join us here at 5 p.m. Christian Standard Time, and we will be watching, or we will have watched, Inception, and we will talk about that. And I'm going to get off Amazon Prime Video homepage because it's distracting me and I can't focus on what I'm trying to say. And we'll watch that, and that's what we'll do. We'll have many thoughts to say about it. Some about Leonardo DiCaprio's Jolly Walk, I'm sure.
Yes, for sure.
And a lot of fun stuff about dreams, and if that movie makes sense.
At everything, I remember that happening in that movie.
Yeah. We'll see if that movie made sense, if we understood it. Do you remember when that movie first came out? That was a big thing. Dude, did you understand Inception? Yeah, dude. Whoa, you must be like so intelligent. And I remember when I saw that, I came away from that movie and I went, I think I got it. I think I understand Inception. I understood the ending of that movie, and the problem with that is I was probably 13 or 14 or something, and probably a little bit too up my own arse about what I think I understood. So it'll be interesting to go back and see again.
Yeah.
Alright then. I'm gonna, in that case, I suppose I'll throw up the stream ending screen. And
stream is ending, and we'll see you next time.
Would you like to plug a stream? Are you streaming later today?
I will be streaming later, yes.
What will you be streaming?
I'll probably be playing more Observer if anyone wants to hang out with me a little bit later.
Does it have observational humour?
Shut up! Stop it.
Also, if you want to catch me, I'll be here on twitch.tv/category, probably streaming more World of Warcraft, because that's apparently what I do now. This is my
WoW streamer.
This is my 8th day streaming in a row, by the way.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and I wanted to stream. I wanted to stream earlier, because I was playing WoW, but I made myself not do that in case I came to this feeling a little bit like drained or something.
We're doing it. Yeah. That's fair. I'm not able to stream as often because obviously I'm a bit busy.
I probably won't stream tomorrow because I've got like a weekly waypoint to film and all that. But either way, thank you for watching or listening or injecting it through your nose if you live 1,000 years in the future and they've developed some new form of inducing media. I wish your nasal cavities a happy fucking birthday.
Oh boy, this is an ending, huh?